Hello, y'all. My name is Jake Perez. I'm with Ed's Public Safety, Ed's Pawn, Ed's Public Safety. Ed's Public Safety is the law enforcement sales side of the Ed's Pawn Shop. Today, I'm here to give you a 5 quick step process for buying your first handgun. And the first thing I want to talk to you about when you're buying your first handgun is challenges that you're going to come across. There's a number of challenges you're going to come across when you're buying your first handgun. We have a number of handguns on the table here. I want to tell you ahead of time, all of these guns have been checked for safety, and we're following the fundamental principles of gun safety. Okay, so we're going to talk about challenges. The very first challenge you're going to come across is everybody you talk to is going to be an expert on firearms. Okay, the challenge is everybody's got their opinion, and we all know what people think about opinions. Okay, you want to be real careful with that. There are people that have professional experience with firearms. By professional experience, I mean somebody who's actually been in a professional capacity instructing people to use guns. Those are the people you want to seek out. The professional, the people who are paid firearms instructors. You want to seek out those opinions because they're going to have biases and opinions too, but their opinions are going to be a little bit more based on fact rather than just generic opinion or sometimes misconceptions. Okay. Another one of the challenges associated with buying a gun is bias. Okay. Everybody you talk to is going to be an expert, like we said, but not only that, they're going to have their own bias. Okay. Some people are, when you go to buy a truck, some people are Ford people, some people are Chevy people, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to understand the bias of the person that you're working with. They may be a diehard Glock person, which is excellent 99 times out of 100, but that one time out of 100, maybe a Glock isn't the exact answer you want. So be wary of people and their biases. All right. Continuing on with those challenges about buying a firearm, this next section we're going to talk about misconceptions. Things that are just generally wrong. Okay, one of those misconceptions when you're out there and you're buying a gun is that, for example, a woman needs a smaller gun. That is entirely false. There are both male and female law enforcement officers. When these police officers and sheriff's deputies go out into their job, they don't assign the female officers a smaller gun. Okay. So that is a misconception that's out there, which is totally untrue. Another misconception that can happen as part of the challenge is that some guns do not have safeties. Okay, maybe 100 years ago there was truth to that. Today, in this day and age, that there is no truth to that whatsoever. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is a Glock Model 48 MOS. Okay. And some people who are not professionally trained will tell you that this gun does not have safety. This is false. This gun actually has 3 safeties. It has a trigger safety, it has a connector bar safety, and then it has a firing pin block safety. These are 3 safeties, but these would be known as passive safeties. Okay, they're not designed to stop you from firing the gun. They're designed to stop the gun from misfiring. That's different than this type of safety here. Okay. Again, these guns have all been checked for safety, but this is a 1911, a much older style of firearm. What you're seeing right here, this is an active safety. This is a switch or a button that has to be turned on or turned off in order for the gun to work. So both of these guns have safeties. This one has internal passive safeties. This one has internal safeties, but it also has external active safeties that have to be turned on or off. Okay, so be wary of misconceptions when you're out there and you're shopping for your first handgun. There's a ton of them out there, and this is why I want you to think of people who are professionally trained firearms instructors. Continuing with our misconceptions. Okay, if you were in law enforcement. 100% possibility that you have been trained in the use of a handgun. Okay, but there is a very good possibility that you don't don't have a lot of training in this gun right here, okay? Now, I was in the military. When I was in the military, I got a ton of training in these guns right here and very little training with handguns, okay? This is, again, misconception that if a person was in law enforcement or if the person was in the military, they know everything there is to know about handguns. I really want you to seek out a person who is a professional firearms. Dump truck in the back making the beep 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 noises. Now that we have covered some of the misconceptions, okay, that are associated with buying your first handgun, we're going to talk about a 5-step process, a quick 5-step process for you buying your own handgun. And the very first part of this is the same as if you were buying a car. Okay, if you were buying a car to go downtown shopping, that's not going to be the same vehicle that you would buy if you were going to take off-roading into the woods and going through mud. One of those is going to get good gas mileage, the other one's going to get stuck in the mud. Okay, so the very first thing you want to do when you're buying a handgun is you want to decide what is the most likely case scenario. How are you going to use the gun that you're about to? Step of the 5-step process is get yourself a notebook. You're going to hear terminology and you're going to hear recommendations. The third step in the process is speak to somebody who is a professional instructor. Okay. What 99% of folks are going to do is they're going to go out and speak to Uncle Bo, who's been shooting deer with his 30-30 since he was 12 years old. And that's all right. Uncle Bo's got a lot of good information. But Uncle Bo is different than a trained firearms instructor. He's not going to have those, he's going to have a lot more bias and a lot more opinion that's based in misconception. Okay, so it's not a bad thing to talk to Uncle Bo, but don't use him as your primary. You want to go get yourself a trained firearms instructor. That's step number 3. You walk into a gun store and you just ask those folks. You come down here into Ed's Pawn. We have several folks here that are trained firearms instructors and can discuss with you points about guns that are not based in bias and are not based in opinion. Okay, not based in misconceptions and opinion. Okay. Step 4 of the process is don't go buy the cheapest thing you can buy. Okay, if you do that, you know, situation dependent, you may end up with, you're probably going to end up with a gun that may not be the highest quality. Okay, decent quality guns start around $300 to $400. If you're paying $200 for a gun, there's an excellent chance that it's not a super high quality gun. What I'm telling you is, if you need to put a little bit of money in the bank and save to come back to hit that $400, $500, $600 mark, do that. It ensures that you are getting a higher quality gun. Okay. Take it from me, you can waste a ton of money buying cheaper guns. Lastly, I want to invite you to come into Ed's Pawn, Ed's Public Safety, the 5th step in the process. Okay, come into Ed's Pawn, come into Ed's Public Safety, and speak to one of our sales staff. They're friendly, they're professional, they're glad to help you find a gun that's inside your budget and a good quality firearm as well. We are a Glock distributor, we are an FN distributor, we are a Wyndham Weaponry dealer, and we can get you to a gun that's going to work for you, whether it's your first gun purchase or whether it's your 101st gun purchase. Okay, thank you. We'll see you out there.